Welcome to the RCVR ERC Pros podcast. I'm Kevin Truss with
Shaun Moyes
and
Jared Dyer, the famous Jared Dyer at jareddyer.com.
That's how we're starting
look into
this.
that. I didn't know there was a website.
I want everyone right now, even if you're driving, to get out your phone.
I'm going to write it down, actually, Jared.
Get out your phone, jareddyer.com. You can, new releases, merch, the latest news and gossip.
It
Stand-up
hasn't
comedy.
been updated
stand
for
up.
like 10 years, so it might be kind of
There's a
like,
real website.
Oh, my gosh.
I thought we were
There
kidding.
is.
I'm going.
All right, today's a special day because sometimes the interviewer gets interviewed. There's a thing. My wife is really hard. My wife's birthday's coming up. She's really hard. And I made the comment the other day. What do you get for the girl who has everything? You know, like, but
Yeah.
what do you ask to the guy that knows everything? And that's what today's about. Jerry, you know everything.
No Star Wars references. The Padawan becomes the Jedi.
You are the dark Sith. All right, we are gonna get really vulnerable today with Jeremy Arthur.
Is that what I signed up for?
Just like with Jeremy Arthur. First question. It's your birthday.
B.
It's your birthday.
Okay.
Your wife is like, hey, where do you want to go for your birthday meal? What restaurant do you choose?
Longhorn
Please say
Longhorn
Chuck E. Cheese.
Steakhouse.
Oh, Longhorn.
Longhorn
Second
Steakhouse.
question.
Love that place.
This is what the
I like
fans
that
want
place
to know.
too.
Longhorn Steakhouse, I think best steak for your buck, or Thai food. It's my favorite food. I could eat it over and over again.
What's your favorite thing to order at Thai?
Masi Ma chicken curry usually, or a coconut soup. Depends on where I'm at.
Tom Kha.
Tom Kha.
Great answers. Correct answer was chili teppan. Good enough. Okay.
But
Well, that's a restaurant.
Close.
Right? That's your birthday restaurant. Jared, where's your birthday restaurant?
It's always Texas Roadhouse because I like to get on the saddle and have everyone stare at me and get all the attention. And I do like the whole like lasso thing.
You got the ladies in the bathroom. Before we press record on this podcast, we did go into a little improv session. I was a percussion. Shaun was
Also
the
a little
tambourine.
percussion,
Yeah.
I think I was dropping a bass line.
Yeah. And then Jared really had fun with it. But
Sounded good.
no, Jared, I'm really excited to interview you today. I'm very nervous.
Don't be nervous. I'm
No.
nervous.
Here's what I want to know. I don't want to know everything about sales. I want to know all the secrets. I want to know about you, Jer. Tell us where you grew up, where you fit in the family, and just I think getting to
deep,
know
huh?
Jer, you got to get to know his childhood a little bit. And so
Yeah, we can
let us in. Hey, open the door and let
And
us
the
in.
scale
sir.
is like Jesse Christensen from Blanding, and then like you got to put yourself in. You know,
Okay.
yeah.
the Mount
'cause
Rushmore of
Jesse's already
Blanding.
done an interview. Yeah, so I grew up in a family with 12 siblings.
Count
No
it.
polygamy, no twins, no mixed families, 12 kids. I am number 10 of 12. For a long time, I was called my brother's name, so I wasn't sure what name I had. Had a great childhood, so I'm not downplaying that. Didn't have a bed until I was about 18 years old, so I slept on a couch all growing up. Wow. Thought that was normal. So grew up in a town, the same town as Jesse Christensen, actually, just a few years younger. I don't know how in depth he went into, but a town of about 3,000 people, and down in the Four Corners area. Probably 4 or 5 hours away from the closest Chuck E. Cheese or McDonald's. So when things were really exciting, we got to go to Cortez and we got to eat at McDonald's and go to Walmart. That was like an annual trip. That was like a really big treat.
Spring break.
Spring break at Walmart in Cortez, Colorado. It was actually the next state away. But yeah, so I grew up, played sports most of my life, and yeah, that's kind of how I grew up. Went on a mission for the church in South America. Speak Spanish, so yeah.
Fluently, by the way. Absolutely
Still pretty fluently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any of you guys who ever run into anyone who doesn't speak English, just call Jared and have him do the
Just
rest.
get me on the phone.
I've heard him roll his R's. He's really good at it.
Yeah, Es cierto.
Ooh, say it again.
Sorry. I just transitioned into Spanish, but
Yeah, sometimes I still think in Spanish first, and then
you have to translate.
well, I spent about a week there on a company trip once, so sometimes I have to translate back from Spanish into English. But Jer, you're one of my favorite people I've ever worked with. One of the reasons is because you're so competitive. You said you played sports. We've talked about it before. There's certain like sports and things you learn in sports that just translate to sales, and I think the competitive side of it is like a huge piece. 2 questions: what sport translates the best to you? I have one in my head that I'm like, these guys are always just hard workers that they do really well there. And then the second one, like how much of this job translates like to athletics for you?
Yeah, I love that. For me, I started out a wrestler from the time I could pretty much walk all the way up to high school. And then, so wrestling for me, I think, is where competitiveness started. I hated losing because there's no excuses. It's you against somebody else, and when they raise your hand at the end of the match, I would cry every time I lost, no matter what, which, didn't happen very often. But I loved all sports. I loved competing, and that's actually what kind of drove me to get into sales. Is it was the closest thing to that competition, that competitive nature that I could find once I was no longer, playing sports competitively in high school, and so yeah. I think that sports, there's so many things that translate directly into the sales world, and I love that competition, either versus yourself or versus somebody else. So many of those things translate over.
I love that answer, and that is the correct answer, actually. Wrestlers. Of the hundreds, thousands of salespeople I've worked with, the one common denominator with wrestlers is they do not quit, they do not fail, they do not make excuses, and they just find a way. They if it's bad weather, then they work twice as hard. If it's if they don't have something that they need, they don't sit and wait. They just go produce. Like they're self-sufficient, and I really think that there's something that comes from not being able to like blame it on the guy next to you.
Excuse.
There's really no excuse, and they're used to doing really, really hard things. I remember watching like the dudes like cutting weight before like weighing on their matches, and I was always just like, gosh, dude, that takes some serious like mental fortitude. Like it's as much mental as it's physical, especially in wrestling, like especially
Absolutely.
in the match, not just getting ready for it, but then in the match. Was there ever a match where you went the whole time and you weren't tired? Like you're always tired, right?
My claim to fame is I have an undefeated wrestling career in high school, so that's pretty cool. The last match I ever wrestled, I was actually so tired, in fact, that I couldn't stand up at the end of the match. I was completely blacked out. I couldn't see. They dragged me off the side of the mat, and I just threw up and threw up and threw up. But I won, so it was worth it. But they literally had to carry me off the mat.
So one thing you just bulldog your way through stuff. You're very like trust that. Like you see something, you do it. Did wrestling? Is that where you got it from, or is that like a personality trait that you had even in your family? And wrestling was a good place to like show it and harness it and turn it into a skill for you.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, my dad was an oil field worker, so all growing up, he worked 363 days out of 365 days a year. So, I think I learned it from him. But being number 10 on the totem pole, you like the pecking order, you kind of have to learn to, you got to get your scraps somewhere. And my parents put me in wrestling. I think it was just an avenue that kind of developed things that I had already learned at a really young age, and it translated into other sports. I was probably most successful at baseball, so I'm not trying to say I was the most amazing wrestler, but I do think that a lot of the stuff I learned came from that. And yeah.
So I have a cool story about that with Jer. So Jer, you have a really high standard for yourself, right? Like that's like one of my favorite. This is fun, by the way. We're just like bragging about Jer. What, Jer? Think about some more. Think about some more things you like about Jer. Let's really pump him up here. No, but I got to work with Jer for the first time in 2012. We went to Memphis. It was with a different company, but it was on a sales campaign. there were probably 2,500. And again, this is to illustrate like his standard for himself. So there are about 2,500 rookie reps. So first year reps at this company. Inside of that office, we had the top 5 reps, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So Jer, being as competitive as he was the number 4 rep out of those 5 rookies. Now, any other office in the company, he's the number 1 rep in that office, in that region, everything, right? But he was the number 4 rep in the entire company. And going home, first off, he worked I never even had to ask. Like, it was so refreshing that way. But going home, he called my co-manager and I and apologized and was like, I'm so sorry, you guys. Like, I feel like I let you down. And I'm like, you were the number 4 rep out of 2,500 people. Why are you apologizing right now? But it just shows like
because I wasn't number 1.
Yeah, and it bugged. It still bugs you.
Yeah,
I know.
That's
why I like to tell it. But he was the 3rd loser, and
it's true.
No, but the fact, out of 2,500 people, he felt like he had to call and apologize for his performance. You know what I mean? Like, that's like a perfect way to illustrate Jer.
And that's really good context for this, because of the listeners who are getting to know leaders in this company and other people, right? Okay, he wrestled. Probably other people listening wrestled. But what we're really illustrating is this leader is just really holds himself to a high standard and puts in the work to get there, and will pivot like that when needed, make the hard decisions when needed, work hard when needed. That's really what this is all coming down to, right? Is we're illustrating where this came from, and that we have a leader in our company who holds himself personally to a high standard, not because you or somebody else, expects something, but because he expects it out of himself. And in order to lead from the front, you've got to be your best, right? And that's been honed over years of doing what you did. It's awesome.
No, I appreciate that.
I kind of like this. I want to have an interview one time where we don't let the person we're interviewing talk. We just talk about them like in the studio the whole time, but we never let them talk. So, no, I want to talk a little bit about sales in general. You're one of the, like, you're fantastic what you do, but you were literally the best rep that I ever. You and Brady Peterson were like probably my 2 favorite like reps that I ever got to work with when I was like managing at that company. So let's talk about like being like a rep, like being and specifically to the outreach agents first.
Yeah.
What did you do every day? You never. I try to explain this to people, and I use you as an example a lot. Actually, you never had to make the decision if I'm going to go work all the hours today, or if I'm going to go talk to that next person, because you never didn't do it. So you never had that option. That was never a decision that you had to make. I talk about that all the time with people. Is the problem with showing up to work late once, or the problem with leaving early once, or the problem not approaching that person once, is now you've told yourself that's an option. And every person you talk to after that, you have a decision to make. Where if you never let yourself do that, you don't have a decision to make. That's just what you do. And so how important is kind of that to you? And then maybe just tell us like how, like, the mindset going into every day for you when you were a salesperson.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like the cool thing about this company or this opportunity is that's how I started. I came in as a sales rep, and I kind of have seen the company from every aspect, from sales rep to manager to regional. But
to VP now.
To VP.
No big deal. Show some respect, Jared.
But
I'm still waiting for that poster of him right when you walk in. I just want a poster of Jeremy up on the wall. I'm still asking for that.
I mean, there's Bo Jackson on the.
I
very
thought that
similar.
was you. That is Bo Jackson. Yeah.
No, for me, it was always me versus me, and it's kind of the classic thing of, when you're little. If you decide, hey, I'm never going to do drugs, if you make the decision one time, you don't have to make it over and over and over again. And I think it's something that we've talked about, but I always establish what I call my non-negotiables. And there are certain things that are just non-negotiable for me, and I make the decision once. And so, yeah, when you're talking about, when you're a new rep, you need to establish your non-negotiables. And for me, it was always me versus me, in the sense that it didn't matter. I always made the decision that I was 100% going to work every hour of the day. It didn't matter where my numbers were at. If I was at goal by 10 o'clock in the morning, I didn't stop. If I was at 0 at 10 p.m. at night, I kept going until I at least got something, right? But for me, that was the biggest thing is establishing my non-negotiables, and actually just it's an internal commitment that I love, because I think if you make the commitment once, it no longer requires willpower. It no longer requires you to make that decision every single time. Like, hey, it's hot, it's cold, it's raining, I just got yelled at, I'm at 0 and it's almost quitting time. You don't have to remake the decision. It's already done. And I kind of made this, those were done before. And then, Kobe Bryant, RIP. I actually hated him when he played, but now I miss what he brought to the table. And I love watching interviews of him, because that's what he he was the epitome of that, he had negotiables, and he always says, hey, the contract was signed. It was already done with myself. So there was never a question of, am I going to do that today? Or am I going to do it when it's hard? Or am I going to do it when I don't feel like it? Because it's already done. There's no more negotiations. It's you versus you. Yeah. And that's kind of where I started and where I kind of keep myself
Non-negotiables
focused.
are a great callback to your interview with Ashley Rawson. So for anybody who didn't listen to that, go back and listen to it, because good thing there. If you haven't talked to yourself about your non-negotiables in all the different aspects of your life, it's a good way to improve.
So, and for those who are maybe, I love that. I love that concept. I think we all naturally actually have them in certain aspects of our life. In this job, what would be your non-negotiables in this job? If you were, let's go through each of them. If you were an outreach agent, what would be your what's an example of a non-negotiable?
So for me, working the hours it seems like a no-brainer, but actually being productive in those hours. I had a thing that I would never go home without a sale on the board. So if I was an outreach agent, I would never go home until I had I had either hit as many businesses as possible, right, physically possible, or until I had, if it was quitting time and I'd hit my goal, obviously I'd go home. We kind of come from different days where we were just out for 4 months, and we tried to squeeze 12 months worth of work into 4 months. But for me, as an example, I tried to never go home without a sale. And there were times where I was knocking on doors at 11 o'clock at night, midnight. I think you always talk about it, Trost, and you have hey, this is the most proud I've ever been. And I love that story. My similar, equivalent of that is, I knocked on a door at about 11:45 at night, and I had a shotgun put in my face, and he racked his shell into it, and I looked at him in the barrel, and I ended up selling that guy at midnight. And that was my favorite moment, and it was the only deal I got that day. But I literally knocked on it, and I'd sold a lot of his neighbors, and I had gone back to him several times. I'm not suggesting anybody tries to go get a shotgun put in their face, but that was how strong my non-negotiable was. I was willing to knock that door at midnight, and when somebody put a shotgun in my face, I was still no, I'm here for a good reason. Put that shotgun down, let's talk, right? Anyways, yeah.
Shaun, I'm just curious, what would your non-negotiable be if you were an outreach agent?
It'd be the same, because you nailed it, where you say, hey man, there's a certain amount of hours. Well, you can be alive for those hours. You can fake your way through those hours. You're just doing a disservice to yourself. If you remember when we first started this program out, it was very different at the time, but we went to Reno, and everybody had their goals for the day, and I was doing some other tasks as well. But I told you, not in front of the group, I said, hey man, just so you know, I'm going to do all these things, but also I'm going to get 2 what would now be apps, I guess. I said, I'm going to get 2 apps a day no matter what. In addition to this, if you remember that.
I do remember
And I
that.
didn't come back every single day that week. I got 2. Doesn't seem like a lot, but I had a non-negotiable that it was if I need to understand what these guys are going to do, I'm going to do my role. I'm also going to go get 2. And whatever that work is in that time period, do the work. Don't shortchange yourself, especially if you're young.
Yeah.
You can make excuses. You can justify yourself any number of things. The non-negotiable is what you said. Work hard. Tell yourself what you're going to do. Hit your goals. Work hard.
Yeah.
Just work hard during those hours.
The only thing I would disagree there, 2 doesn't sound like a lot. 2's crazy good when you're also people have to understand you were building the back end of this entire company whilst going out and getting 2 appointments that day. And that goes back to there's always an excuse, right? You were literally in charge of building the entire back end of this program at that time. You and
With
between you and
you, right?
Redfern,
Yeah.
But between you and Redfern, though, like you guys built the entire back end of this program, but you still were like, yeah, but that doesn't take away the reason why I'm here is to go get 2 today. So the people listening, especially the outreach agents, there's always an excuse. There's always something else you could be doing. There's always, and a lot of times it's worthy, right?
Yeah.
It could easily be worthy. The purpose of a non-negotiable is, even with a worthy cause, you still, like, I remember one time I was in Missouri and there was legit a tornado. I was like in a tornado. I knocked on this house and they were like, come in our bunker. Like, what are you doing? Get in our bunker. And in the I sold an account in a bunker during a tornado. And I would have just kept knocking because I was so like in that zone of that. And it's like, if I can bring that to whatever I'm doing, that intensity, that urgency, to whatever I'm doing, I'm going to have success. Jared, what would be your non-negotiable?
I think just avoiding distractions. Like, I remember when I'd go out and sell, my wife would be pissed because I wouldn't answer the phone when she'd call me. She'd be like,
just her? If it was just her, then she's warranted.
no, but literally, there's, like you were saying, Tros, there's so many little distractions. Like, oh, I could be getting an oil change, or maybe I need to go make a phone call to my dad and see how, there's always these like little distractions, but we know with sales, it's like a numbers game. It's like a fishing pole, right? The longer your line is in the water, the more of a chance you're going to catch something. So as far as my non-negotiables are, it's time, right? Time is so valuable. You got to be able to be putting in the time, and we know that the law of the harvest, if you put in the time and the work, you're gonna reap what you sow, right? And it comes down to that. It's that simple.
Hold on. That was beautiful. I want to take that audio and I want to make a cartoon out of it and have a little grasshopper like go into the law of the harvest. That was beautiful. Shaun, what were you going to say?
I just wanted to put it into application because it builds on what Jeremy said. So that week when I was going to get 2, right? That also means don't get down, right? My non-negotiables, I'm going to get 2. And the sooner I get those done, like the sooner I can do the other things I need to do, right? Because I had my task in a day. So I made an appointment for 2 days after. I think I made it on Monday and I went in on a Wednesday. When I went in thinking it was going to be an awesome appointment, I got kicked out of that store. The guy told me to get out, like with very strong language. He was not happy with me. I walked out, and instead of getting down, or some people would like, then they have to build themselves back up, right? I walked out, walked straight into the next door, and that was my next step. And so again, your non-negotiable is just work. Don't get up, like don't get down, just do the work.
Yeah, I like that, and it just kind of comes back to good, better, best. There's always good things you could be doing, and you could justify those. What's the best thing you could be doing, right? For me, like there's a lot of stuff. I think that one of the things that I try and take pride in is that I try and never leave something that I say I'm going to do unaccomplished, and I try and do it very quickly. Anybody that's worked with me, that's something that I really try and take pride in. And when you think about the amount of things in a day that have to be done. I mean, I have 4 kids. I coach baseball. I coach football. I coach basketball. I'm currently getting a master's degree right now, but there's things that you have to compartmentalize, and you have to choose what's good, better, best. Like you have to focus on during the time of work, like what's going to get the results that I'm looking for. Because a phone call or certain things, you could stay busy all day but not be productive. So that's one thing. Like if I'm an outreach agent or I'm out there, there's so many things that keep you busy, but don't look to be busy, look to be productive. So
that's good. I'm trying to think what mine would be on top. I mean, that would be mine. The difference with me with that is it's a non-negotiable, not because I would have to tell myself. It's because if I went and worked all day and I didn't produce an account, and I don't want to say, hey, and I don't want anyone to take this personal who's listening. I want everyone to take this personal who's listening. I want you to think about this. If you go out for a full day and you do this job and you don't create at least an appointment or an upload, I don't think I could sleep that night. I would be so just like mad and frustrated all the time. I would take it so personal that the only way that I could get over it was to go get a sale, right? You go get an appointment, to go set an appointment. And so I think that my non-negotiable is make sure that I do take it personal. Like, I don't know how to do a job like this. This is a hard job. Like this is a hard job, but it's an awesome job with amazing opportunity, but it's only as good as I'm willing to, how important I let it be to me.
Right.
And if I go out and I work all day and I don't produce something and I tell myself that's okay, then I'm lying to myself. Like, I have to go produce something to be happy, to feel good about it. I need those wins. And if I can't remember too many days where I let myself go home without a sale, because I would rather knock on, kind of like what Jeremy said, I would rather knock on your door at midnight than just sit in my bed so mad that I can't sleep anyway because I didn't get a sale that day. Like, so we have to find a way. Everyone on this, like, it has to matter. It has to matter. And think about it. This is your job. This is your career. This is like what you chose to spend your time doing this. Take it personal. Yeah. Take it personal. If you have a day and you didn't work as hard as you know you could have, if you don't take it personal, then you're not going to learn what you need to learn out of this job. You're not going to progress. You're not going to grow. And it's not going to catapult you into the best version of yourself, right? And so you need to take this job personal, and you need to take the results personal. It shouldn't make you mad that you didn't get one because Jeremy might notice. It should make you mad you didn't get one because, man, I'm going to be miserable until I can go work at 8:00 tomorrow. And if it was me, if I got 0 on a day, my manager would hate me because I'd be like, hey, I can't be on the call. I have to be on the doors at 8:00. I have to go get a set. I don't want to feel like this anymore. The only way for me to not feel like this is to go get a set right now. I have to go do it right now.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. So I've
seen that with you, actually, Jer.
Yeah, I actually at one point in time, like probably 5-10 years ago, not 10 years ago, but 5, 6, 7 years ago, I actually interviewed like the top 10 people at a bunch of different companies, top 10 producers at every single company, and that's kind of all what they came back to. They were all, none of them necessarily were focused on like the dollar sign necessarily. Like, obviously we're all here because we want to make money, right? But the best reps almost consistently cared more about the number and more about like taking it personal than the dollar side associated with them. And so that just kind of drove them to always like give their best, like regardless, right? And so it's funny that you say that, because they were always focused on that versus anything else that they could be focused on. A lot of them use the word, I think obsessed is like the word, like, hey, I just became obsessed with like what I had to do that day. And it came down to them taking it very personal, if they did or did not hit their goals. So, I'm on these calls, and it is very apparent, like the ones that when they say their goal, when they mean they're going to hit that goal. They say it with confidence, and they say it, and they're going out with a purpose. It's
pre-thought out. They know exactly what that number is before. Yeah. When I use this analogy I don't want to. That is such a huge point. There was a day there was a day when somebody gave me their goal and they said 4. They said 4, and then I watched him go, and it was back when he used paper contracts, and he picked up 2 contracts, and I was just like, what? It made me so mad. I was just like, you couldn't even hit your goal if you wanted to. Like, what are you? That's not your goal. Like, I wasn't even mad that he only took 2. I wouldn't be mad if his goal was 2 and he took 2. I'd be like, cool. Well, you need 3, because if all you're going to do is your goal and then quit, you're missing the whole point of a goal. But at the same time, when he took 2, I lost my mind. I absolutely lost my mind. I'm like, you don't even care enough about your goal to take enough paperwork to potentially hit it. Yeah. You set a goal that you have also made it so you can't even hit it. I agree. Like, I don't know how you could enjoy your job without being obsessed. Yeah. Like, you have to, like, that's what's fulfilling about it, is if you're obsessed with it, and then you fulfill whatever that is. Like, I love that about it. But
yeah, you got to do the work, because once you get in the habit of doing the work, if you're missing some things, we can help round out your skill set, and your managers can help you learn some things and some new tricks, even with experience of selling. But if you're not willing to just do the work, set your non-negotiables, and go out and put in the hours, then it doesn't matter. If you haven't put in the work, there's nothing to work with. Yeah.
And that's the whole point of this. We made a major transition in our company, and we made it fairly quickly. But we know it's the right call. And the whole goal was, how do we speed up people's success? How do we make it to where they are able to find success quicker without feeling overwhelmed or unsure about what to focus on. And that's why I'm super excited about what we've rolled out with this 2-stage sales process. Is now it's very specific what everybody's focused on, and you don't have to get overwhelmed. Like, you can be very specific, and you can get really, really, really good at that portion of it. And it's cool because it's all connected. One doesn't work without the other, and they're both essential to our success. But, we did this so people could find success and fulfillment quicker. That comes with money, but when we set, and I still think a lot of people could have accomplished the things that we told, that, some of the quotas and things. Definitely think we have super talented people. We've hired sales professionals, people that could get there. This is just a complex thing, right? We're dealing with a complex tax credit. And the people who are being very successful at everything have been here a long time, 6 months, over a year, 18 months, some from the very, very beginning. And our goal in this is just, how do we help people feel accomplished? How do we help them focus on the 1 or 2 KPIs that are going to drive the rest of the business and the numbers? So that's the whole point of kind of breaking these two things up. Is we want people to feel accomplished. We want them to feel like they can be accountable. When there's 5 different numbers that you're accountable to, it's hard to stay accountable to that. Now it's very simple on both sides, whether you're a doc specialist or whether you're an outreach agent. It's very simple what you're accountable to. And that's what I like about it, because I think that allows you to get obsessed or hyper focused. When everything is your focus, it's hard to be you're almost focused on nothing, right? And I like that.
There's a saying, jack of all trades, master of none, right? Like this job, I remember I was sitting in a correlation.
Unless you're Isaac Mon, then you can.
But even Isaac, it took months. Like there's a learning curve with this to become a master of all of them, right? And we definitely have people in our company that have done that, and then there's definitely people in our company who are capable of it. So that wasn't what this was about. The idea was, if you could get really, really good at a piece of this, instead of take a long time to get kind of good at all of it, then you're going to be more, like you said, you're going to be more fulfilled. It's going to translate into higher income, more money. But also, why not get really, really good at what you're doing? And then you might love that. You might want to stay exactly where you're at. I'm the kind of person that once I get really good at something, I actually like to reap the rewards of that. I like to the law of the harvest, as Jared would put it, right? I don't like to just plant. I like Sunday to actually, I actually like to get something out of it. So for me, it's let me become so good at one thing that I'm the best in the world at it. And that is where I can focus. But there's some people that love that challenge. They always need to be challenged, and there's the opportunity for that in this too. But we've already seen, we're about a week and a half in, and we've already seen, almost 2 weeks in now. Yeah. When this comes out, we'll probably be 2 weeks into it, and we've already seen it working really, really well with a lot of people, and it's exciting. I'm really excited about it.
Shout out to a really cool company that allowed that pivot too. Leaders who made a decision that a pivot needed to happen really quickly. I know you haven't slept in a while. I know you've put in some hours. I know Reggie approved some funds to make this happen, but what a cool company that it's hey, we're working on this. We think we can do something even better that'll create success. And then it just happens, and it happened really fast. And that's because there's a really great set of leaders and leadership that we're able to make that happen. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because I think sometimes especially new reps that come on board, but the Shiras of the world, Shira, shout out to Chicago. Nice. She just was here. She was here from the beginning of the W-2 program, and she's kind of seen it kind of change and morph. But it's true. We've made some major changes, and all of those were trying to make the experience, the process, and everything better, from getting more payment up front, incentives, competitions, and simplifying the job. All those things take a company that's willing to admit when they're wrong and make adjustments. And that's what I love about working with ERC Pros, and kind of the mothership company that encompasses that is we work with leaders who are always trying to get better, and nobody's too prideful to say, nope, this is the only way to do it. There's only one way to do it. Now, I think So I love that you pointed that out, because it's important. If I'm a rep working at a company, a lot of the stuff that we've changed has been from feedback from people in the field. Like, hey, it would be great if this. Hey, it would be awesome if this. And this pivot, this transition is setting us up for the future. That's what I'm most excited about, is because the future of ERC pros and the future of Figure, if you don't know what that is, then that's another podcast probably. But the future of ERC pros is going to continue down this road of helping businesses with complicated credits and tax credits, and there's different branches off of that. And there will always be an outreach portion of it where we have to find qualifying, interested people, and there will always be somebody on the back end that needs to deal with complicated tasks. And there are for me, I'm more of an outreach type person. Like, I like formulating those relationships and finding and prospecting and hunting, and kind of doing that back end process. I would love if I could pass that off to people who are good at that. And so I see this as a huge win and a huge opportunity for everybody listening. There are going to be leadership opportunities in these different lanes that we will need to fill, and we'll need to fill quickly. So hopefully everybody here sees the opportunity to grow into something more than just where they currently are. We're going to need leaders. We're going to need people to step up, and we're going to need people to advance in their careers with the company. And that means that you have a really cool opportunity to influence a company like ERC Pros. Like, that's pretty cool. Not very many places do you go where a company is doing the type of revenue and what we are doing, but you can feel like it's small enough to where you can have an impact.
Yeah, and the timing's a real thing. Timing is a real thing. It's not. I don't apologize for it either. When anyone discredits somebody's success because of their timing, I'm just like, oh wait, that's a negative. Like they saw an opportunity and they took it at the right time, and you're discrediting them for that. Like, timing is amazing. That's my favorite thing about where we're at compared to where we're going is, especially in this program. Yeah. There's so few times in your life when you can work for something as big as this is going to be and set yourself apart this quickly, right? And really like become a leader really, really fast. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for growth and things like that. But if you want to set yourself apart right now, let's just say in the outreach side of things, if you went out and just got 2 a day, if you found a way to get 2 a day, just no matter what, if you found a way to get 2 a day, you would set yourself apart. You would be a rock star in a week, right? Like, think about like how valuable of an opportunity that is with the upload agents. If you were just like, my non-negotiable this week, I have 5 days. My job is to get an upload. I'm going to do at least one of those every single day. And if I don't have one appointment set, or if I have 5 a day set, it doesn't matter. I'm going to take the accountability for this, and I'm going to do one every day. If you did that for 2 weeks, you might have a statue outside front of this building. Like, we're so early in this program, that's going to become normal at some point very, very soon, right? And there's going to be people who normalize that. How cool is it you can set yourself apart that fast, right? There's Shaun's really into skiing and skateboarding. Just joking, X Games in general. But Tony Hawk, think about the timing for Tony Hawk, right? Like, Tony Hawk is the GOAT. He's the greatest ever. Tony Hawk, if he went and entered a competition today, the tricks people are doing now, he might not even make it into the top competition, let alone place.
Even
right?
in his prime, you're saying.
Even in his prime, they've gotten so much better. But at the timing and the timing of that sport and everything, it was just such a good time that he was able to be the trailblazer, but for what was normal, right? And hopefully we all have chances to do that in our lives, because when timing is on your side, it's like an amazing thing. Anyone listening to this right now, you probably are working for ERC Pros who just went in through a big transition like we just talked about. Your timing couldn't be better. This is an opportunity for you to set yourself apart right now. That is amazing. Like, that is so lucky to have that. 4 years from now, looking back, it might take somebody amazing production for 4 months to stand out, where right now you could do it in a week.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an amazing opportunity.
What were you going to say, Shaun? No. Just talk about Tony Hawk?
Yeah, just love skateboarding. But no, that's it, man. No, keep going.
No, that's awesome. Yeah. No, that's good. So I actually love that non-negotiable stuff we were talking about. What would be, and I hate to go backwards, but we just kind of talked about the future, which would have been a great way to end. But I feel like we I didn't want to gloss over the upload specialist. I love that we went specifically, what would our non-negotiable be for the for the outreach agents? What would be your non-negotiable if you were an upload specialist?
So I think understanding what moves the needle, right? Once again, this is kind of comes back to things we've already covered, but focusing on what we know moves the needle, right? Like knowing that the business questionnaire is kind of like the gateway to all of the other documents. If I was a doc upload specialist, I would become obsessed with figuring out a way to get really, really good at filling out that business questionnaire as quickly as possible with qualifying businesses. Everything else kind of follows after that. And there's a lot of things that you could do to stay busy that would prevent you from doing that. And so, shout out to Kevin and Kendall for kind of blazing that trail. But I think that we were doing so many things that we thought were being productive, and some of them obviously were. But at the end of the day, I would get extremely hyper-focused on how many business questionnaires can I get filled out every single day. And I would try and make sure that I can maximize my time spending my time with the right people and focusing on getting them started in the pipeline with the right thing. If I could just point to one thing, it would be that. Just how many of those can I get filled out in a day?
Shaun, what would be yours?
This is kind of tricky, non-negotiable. It's back to the work again, but it's more of a mindset. This is really going to be kind of a little off topic, but when you're at that step, doc specialist, you got to understand people, improve your communication skills. Like read a book on how to talk to people, read the old classic, How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? Like learn to deal with people when you're communicating, improve those skills, talk to people at the store, because in order to move somebody forward, you need to make them feel comfortable. You need to be able to communicate. So I know the real answer is just, what's the task in a day and putting in the work. It's the same as the outreach. That's my non-negotiable, is what am I supposed to do in a day? It's the same answer. So to not give the same answer, that's why I'm saying get really good at communication. When you talk with somebody, don't say the minimum if they kind of go along to get through. Probe a little bit. Make sure that they understand it, that they feel that you're engaged, and that if you feel there's a little hitch of a concern, just hit it, ask it, because then you can resolve it and you just hook them and loop in. Like, get really good at communication. The answer is the same. Just know what the work is that needs to be done in a day. Do that work. But as a tangent, get good at communicating with people. And if that means you need to read some books and take some classes on communication, do that. Expand
what your skill set is, right?
100%.
Don't be afraid to read. Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Now let's go to Jared for the right answer. Jared?
I think it's going back to what I said before about keeping your fishing line in the water. If you're not getting like any appointments sent to you, create opportunities. Like there's still like so many referrals out there on the table. I think when Kendall gave that, he kind of gave a training on referrals, but we know that referrals is like so huge in this industry. And go milk all those people that already have ERC. Like Kendall came to my office the other day and he's like, I think one of the most productive things that they can be doing, doc specialists, is going after referrals, hitting up those people that are sold on ERC and milking that for all it's worth. So if don't sit around waiting for like someone to hand you like an appointment. Like if it's slow, then go out and create opportunities. And the best way to do that is with referrals and getting people that are already sold on it. So.
I love it.
I love that.
My non-negotiable, since you asked.
Hey,
Trust, what's your
Kevin, what's your non-negotiable?
There we go.
Well, I haven't really thought about it. Just joking. My non-negotiable would be this, and I'm being serious. If I was a doc upload specialist, I would say I would get very clear with what I'm being judged and how I can stand out, and that would be by complete uploads, right? It wouldn't be by appointments met. It would be by uploads. And so I would just say, hey, no matter what, there's 5 days this week. I'm finding a way to do 5 this week. I don't care. I don't care if I have one appointment set or if I have 5 a day. I'm eliminating every excuse, and I'm going to find a way to get 5 uploads this week. And when I did that, then my non-negotiable would be 5, and my goal would be, cool, 1 more than last week, right? No matter what I got last week. But if I didn't do 5, I wouldn't be able to enjoy the weekend. I just wouldn't, because that would be my non-negotiable. And I wouldn't even have to set that for myself. That would just be that's internally would just be set with me. If I didn't get at least 1 of whatever I was doing every single day, and I know there's people listening right now. There's a couple people listening, I guarantee, that are like, well, dude, I don't know if that's possible. I promise you there are. There's also people that are thinking, one a day, that doesn't seem like very much. I agree.
Yep.
And then there's people thinking, yeah, I can get there. I just need to keep getting better.
Yep.
I would say if you're a doc upload specialist, the only difference between you doing that every week and you not doing it, it's not because you need to sharpen your saw or get a little bit better or understand it a little bit more. It is 100% expectation and effort. And focus. If you are obsessed with that, I used to do this training where I'd say, hey, I'd go in a room and I'd just pick someone and be like, hey, what is the most you've ever done in a day? And they'd be like, 3. Yeah. But cool. If you do 4 today, I'll give you $50,000 cash tomorrow morning. Is there any way you wouldn't go figure out how to do 4 today?
No
you
chance.
would.
You would figure it out.
You would figure it out, dude. If the number was 5, you'd probably figure it out. 6, you would figure it out no matter what, right? And I'm like, cool. Successful people figure out a way to work like that every day.
Yeah.
Right? Like their life depends on it. And I know that sounds extreme, but man, if we're going to do something, let's do it, dude. If you're going to spend 8 hours a day of your life, you're going to spend a third of your life this week working, why not get the most out of yourself and grow as much as you can? Expect the most out of yourself. Set those standards for yourself. Like that would be my non-negotiable. And so my non-negotiable would be at least 1 a day. And then my goal would not be my non-negotiable. Like nobody's goal should be their quota. Nobody's goal should be their non-negotiable. So my goal would to be 1 more than I did last week, whatever that was. And if I only got 4 last week, it wouldn't happen because it was my non-negotiable. I would find a way to do 5, and then my goal next week would be 6. And once I hit 6, my goal next week would be 7. If I only did 5, my goal would still be 7 because I know I'm capable of 6. My goal is to do a little bit better than I am because I'm not getting worse at this job. I'm getting better. So the only thing that could hold me back is my effort. Yep. Right? My work ethic. That's the only thing. If I'm getting better at this job, which everyone listening, you're getting better every day. So to expect less of yourself than what you're capable of what you've done before, you're just showing yourself that you're giving yourself an excuse not to work as you did the week that you did when you hit that number, right? And so my non-negotiable will be 1 a day, no matter what.
The thing I like about that is the gate's wide open for somebody to come do that, right? Like, the 4-minute mile hasn't been run yet, right? You shared a really cool training the other day with the regionals about something that you had done, something similar. Somebody's going to go do it, and then everybody's going to go, oh, that is possible, and then that's going to become the new norm, but it's going to take somebody to go do it first because it's definitely possible.
To get the 1 a day too, it doesn't just happen. And again, that goes back to how you work, right? If a doc specialist is, okay, I'm just going to make these calls and I'm just going to go through the process, and they get through all their calls and they didn't get that 1 a day, well, you weren't really involved, right? You didn't have the mindset that Kevin Trost has. For anybody who doesn't know, they will learn. Like Kevin Trost is a legend, right? He is a sales legend.
This is about Jeremy Arthur. This is about Jeremy Arthur.
But I mean, I'm just saying, stalking him alone type thing. But yeah. So a name that a lot of new reps have heard is Isaac Mon, right? Since the beginning, a lot of people hear him, right? But a lot of new reps don't know who he is. So without knowing anything about Isaac Mon, I don't think he minds us saying this. That first week in Reno, he didn't know anything. Yeah. It definitely wasn't his knowledge. It wasn't his skill set.
He knew
he was 19 years old?
He knew the exact same amount as any rep, anybody who has signed on this company this week.
Probably less.
This week. He
less
did know this because none of us knew what
he had training.
He had 0 training, and we went to Reno. Keep going, Shaun. So finish the story.
It's exactly what you said, right? It's just the application. This was somebody who was like, I'm going to work hard. He made the decision already. He didn't want, as to Jared's point, he didn't let himself get distracted. To my point, he was just going to work hard and go from one thing to the next, right? Like everything we've been talking about, he just did the work. It wasn't what he knew, his skill set, any of that. And then a little while later, he had a nice thing going. That got pulled out from underneath him. He just went out and did it again. It's just the work. Now, as time's gone by, if you talk to Isaac now, he's very knowledgeable. Now he's even better, right?
He has a system. He's dialed in. He knows what he's doing.
That just means he's been able to elevate to the next level. But realistically, if it wasn't for what you just described, none of this other stuff matters because there's other people that know what he now knows too that don't have that work ethic.
I want to throw one more to piggyback off that. There was also somebody on that trip, Sarah Horrocks, that Isaac Mon was coming off. He was the number 1 rep in DirecTV as like a 17-year-old in a company with hundreds and hundreds of reps. It was crazy. One of the coolest things I've ever witnessed. But then he went and was also one of the top reps in the Amazon campaign. And so that's just what he does, right? Sarah Horrocks was a mother of 4 or 5. 4? 5?
3.
Oh my gosh,
She was a mother
Sarah,
of
if
kids.
you're listening to this
She was
with
a
your
mother of
kids,
kids.
if you're listening to this with the whole family, whoever the fifth child is, I'm sorry that I forgot you. If there's only 4 of you, then you're welcome.
But we can't forget her husband, Matt.
Yeah, but the first day, Matt's a legend.
Such a legend.
Speaking of legends, Matt, little shout out, buddy. All right, first day out there. None of us knew what to expect. I don't know what her expectations were going into it, but she went out and she had a rough first day, right? First day. Her second day, she did 10 applications. She's not coming out of a campaign. She doesn't think she has any trained sales skills, even though she's one of the best salespeople I've ever met. But she did 10 applications her second day because she took it so personal her first day. Whatever her non-negotiables were, I don't even know, but she came out and she did 10 applications the next day. And that to me was, she eliminated an excuse. It could have been so easy for her to be like, I don't know what I'm doing. Nobody's even trained me. I promise you guys, everyone listening right now, we all have excuses that are there that we can use, but there's certain people that just, they eliminate those excuses and they take 100% accountability. Watching Sarah go from 0 the first day to 10 the second day as before that, she was a stay-at-home mom, and she was just kind of going out. She had so many excuses of why she could have just given herself just the justification of okay, well, I mean, other people have been doing this longer than me, and they didn't go do 10. It didn't matter. And then she went out, and that second day, she didn't stop when she got 6. 6 would have been a giant day, right? She could have stopped. She got 10, 0 to 10 real quick.
And
Drake would have been
0
impressed.
to 10.
Fast forward into the program, and she's one of the top reps who
Absolutely.
you see her name with Isaac and Sharon Dominguez, whatever, right? But again, she knows stuff now, but you go back to that first week, the difference is that work ethic.
Yeah.
Just having a non-negotiable, wanting to succeed, holding yourself accountable. This is about Jeremy Arthur again. Just holding yourself accountable to yourself, right?
Yep.
And also liking the competition, because you do like competition. And she was one of the only people that does not celebrate Isaac Vaughn's wins. She's like, I want to be number one, right? I want to beat him. She's competitive. But again, she knows stuff now, but we're talking about what would you do if you're a doc upload specialist, if you're an outreach agent and you're new. Do the work. There's no substitute. The skill set will come, but we can't work in a vacuum. You can't work in a vacuum. Start doing work.
I love it. Okay. Last question, Jared. Who's your least favorite rep in the company?
This is how much time do we have? How much time do we have?
No, just joking. My last.
Just say the first name, not the last name.
No, I wanted to.
Tell me after.
I don't have one.
Don't talk about
I love
Kendall.
all of
Do
them.
not talk about Kendall right now.
I love all of them.
Hey, I do want to. I wanted to finish though on just your optimism and outlook for the future, right? We've talked about timing, we've talked about work ethic, we've talked about non-negotiables. This is literally I hope everyone listens to this podcast and is open and teachable from it, because I'm telling you, this is how you become the best at what you're doing. I in this job, there's a lot of years experience that are talking about this, and Jeremy is maybe one of the best at what he's done at every level. And I promise you, everything he said is just find a way to implement it into what you are as an employee here, as a salesperson, just whatever you're going to do. It's a great way to approach it. But I want to end on just your optimism for the future and where this program's going. Like I said, we're about 2 weeks in, right? So tell me where you see this, a little bit down the road, and just your final thoughts.
Yeah. On the broader scale, ERC's been amazing, and ERC is only halfway through, right? And to think that we have just as much in front of us as we have behind us is extremely exciting. And to hear kind of the direction of where the company is going, we're setting ourselves up for an amazing future. I love the mindset that we're going to continue to offer these types of services to business owners that don't otherwise know how to find them. And so everybody is in an amazing opportunity to continue to grow and go. And it just comes back to kind of what you said is timing. The timing could not be better. And ERC Pros and the parent company of ERC Pros is in a position where we are on a growth trajectory that's going to need qualified and talented people. And so kind of my final thoughts are, my family, my boys, we have a couple of slogans in our family. The first one is, we can do hard things. Jared Dyer's going to go run like an Ironman this weekend. That's a hard thing, right? Whenever I feel like I'm getting too comfortable, and Trost is kind of the master at this. I learned a lot of this from Trost, but there was a time where I just didn't eat sugar for 2 years because I just wanted to try something that was hard. There was a time where I didn't eat anything for 3 days consecutively because I was like, hey, I want to see if I can do this hard thing. I want to see, if I can do that. So if you're feeling like too comfortable, go try and do something hard, whatever that is. Everybody's heart is relative to you. So I can't go run a marathon, but Jared's going to go do that this weekend, right? Charles ran 1,000 miles a few years ago, and he filled in a bubble every time he ran one. That was his hard. Whatever that is, like if you're feeling too comfortable, if you like, it doesn't have to be what I do, but find something that challenges you. Do something hard that will make you better. The next thing is my boys, if you ask them, they will say, Arthurs don't say I can't, right? They say, Arthurs don't say I can't. Anytime they do, the one thing that I'm usually a pretty chill parent, but the one thing that will make me upset is if I hear my boys say that, right? Arthurs
and
say,
showboating on the football field.
Yeah, if you give me the Tyreek Hill peace sign when you run into the end zone, and until you're as fast as him, you can't do that. Arthurs don't say I can't. They say, how can I, right? That's what I teach my boys. And then the last thing that I say, we have a slogan of this in our house, and it's don't pout, figure it out. And that's kind of, it's very, very basic, but that's what life comes down to, right? There's two types of people. There are two types of people. There are ones that figure out a way, and there's ones that use excuses to not make that happen. We want people that want to figure out a way. So don't pout, figure it out, and that's what we want to do. If you'll do that, then there is a bright, bright future for you at this company.
Gosh, don't pout, figure it out. I'm
That
going to
was
get
awesome.
that tattooed in probably a tribal language.
You want to see my tattoo?
A tribal.
No.
Don't pout, figure it out, Jared. I hope everyone heard that, but he was talking specifically to you, Jared.
I'm going to put it on my forehead, so anytime I say it, people will be like, oh, I'm going to read what's on your forehead, so don't do that.
That goes right back to the very beginning, though, when you make your mind up already.
Yeah, full
The
circle.
truth is, he's not gonna wallow in misery and indecision and everything that comes with that. Just figure it out. Just be a problem solver. Make your mind up that that's the kind of person that you are. It's also how you succeed in any company.
Yep.
It's
And
awesome.
people that solve problems, and there's people that make them, and there's no one in between that. You're one or the other, and be very aware of which one you are. And everyone will tell you the same answer. I promise you.
They're all.
Yep. There are problem solvers, and there's people that make problems. You're one of the two. Be aware of which one you are. Figure out a way to be a problem solver. You'll go far. Hey, Jer, I love you, man. That was awesome. Great job.
Thank you.
Also
Thank you
love
guys.
you.
Love you guys.